Good morning. It is time for Art in the AM. Even on a Monday, when it is a holiday for most people, it is Martin Luther King Day. And I am having some coffee this morning because I woke up today with a little bit of a froggy throat, a little sore, speaking kind of at a lower volume. So I probably will not stay on the video too long, just to make sure that I am like resting my vocal cords. But today is the third week in my series for 2026 called the ABCs of Art. So I'm going to take a drink and see if you can guess what I'm going to cover today, what I'm going to talk about for the letter C. So today is the letter C for the third week. So if you are getting my text message, I believe that I sent that. I feel like I did. Let me know if you have a guess for the letter C. That feels so good on my throat. Sometimes I like hot on my throat, and I did have a hot coffee this morning, but this is iced coffee, and it feels good on my throat too. I have water over here, I have coffee. I will probably finish both of them in the next like half an hour. So just to keep my voice like lubricated. So hopefully you don't have a problem hearing this and it's loud enough, and it sounds very froggy, like it's just like a deeper octave to me. So today for letter C, let me go ahead and show you for letter A and B if you were here. If you did not watch either one of those, I have started a playlist on YouTube called the ABCs of Art. So you can go to my YouTube channel, just put YouTube in the comments if you're not subscribing over there yet, and you can watch all of the videos from the ABCs of Art. So for the entire series, I'm going to be using this book that has 30 sheets, but I'm using both sides, so it should be 60. So I should fit the whole year in this book. And it's actually a watercolor book because I like the thickness of the pages. I've used a sketchbook before. I'll show you. This one is another one that I have, and it is, I think it's just called a sketchbook. It is. So the sketchbook one. And it's also 60 sheets, but the weight of the paper is 65 pounds. So my watercolor book is 140 pounds, which just means that it's thicker. It will take more wet media. I can collage on it. So I just feel like it works better. And these are from a company called US Art Supply. I just got it off Amazon. And probably if you go to my Amazon shop, I do think that I have these listed in there. I don't remember right off what the price, but I felt like for 30 sheets of watercolor paper, 140 pound, it was a pretty good deal. The first week I did the letter A, and I talked about art. I know that's backwards for you. Good morning, Kathy. And I talked a little bit about composition, which is a letter C word, but I just talked about how the, just art is an expression of whatever you want it to be. So I took some leftover washi tape that I had like here on my art table and just some paint and had fun and used a tag that I had saved from, clothing or something and put that on there. So it was all about kind of just exploring what art is to you. Last week, I showed 3 different ways to blend for the letter B. Good morning, Sharon. And this was the one that I chose. I actually did it this way, so it had kind of all 3 ways on there. But then I just kind of blended those all together, decided to keep my journal vertical. And this was the Today I Choose Gratitude with my little card, which I had already created this card. So it was a way for me to, preserve it in my my journal here. So I'm going to do the letter C today. Good morning, Gail. And what I'm going to talk about today for the letter C, if you have any guesses as you're watching, I'm going to take another drink. If you missed it at the beginning, I woke up kind of like a froggy, sore, a little sore kind of throat. So I'm drinking all the coffee, all the water, and I probably won't stay on too long. I'll give you a couple of, today is a very workshop-like word that I'm going to give to you and things that you can do. And I think that'll be really helpful for you. So I'm having my iced coffee that I made. So good. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But I am going to be talking about color theory. Color theory. Because I feel like once you get started creating art, there comes a time where you need to know more about color theory. You need to know about how colors work together and how to choose colors. And tell me if that's you. Tell me if, oh, Cindy, I will lemon and honey, and oh, I will definitely try that. I don't think about that sometimes. I know I have some hot teas too, so yeah, the honey I can imagine would like coat my throat better. So thank you for that reminder. I never think to do that. I think we have some lemon juice. I think so. So I feel that way, that the more that I know about color and how colors work together and how to mix colors, it always makes my art feel like it is more unified. It works together better. It's harmonious, right? There's just a harmony of all the colors and everything in there. And even if I couldn't have put that to words, I know now that that's what it is. It's how the colors all work together. So the more and more that I learn about color theory and the specific paints that I have, the better my artwork becomes. So tell me if that is something that you would like to learn more about, because I mean, honestly, like 20 minutes here today is just like gonna just be like the littlest part, and just a sampling of it, really. Here's what I would suggest. Number one, if you want to learn more about color theory, you need to get yourself a color wheel. You need to get yourself a color wheel. This one is a very basic one, and I used this one in my classroom when I taught at the high school level, and just had a very basic, and then on the back it does talk about different colors. So even if it's something like this, because this does have these lines that you see on here, do talk a little bit more about color theory just with the lines. If you want an even better color wheel, I would suggest something more like this artist wheel, it's called. So this this color wheel has more about how colors work together and the different values of color and how they mix together. So this one has like these little windows here as you move it around, and it shows if you have blue and you add yellow, it's going to make that green, right? If you have this plus like a teal, blue, green color plus red, it's going to make this purplish color. So this one, and then it has all of these tints and shades on the back, which is really helpful. And then even more of these like little diagrams on there. So I believe that I have this one in my Amazon shop as well. I'm sure that I got this off Amazon too, but I love how this spins around and becomes very interactive and just gives me more. It even has a gray scale on here where it goes from white to a darker gray on there. So it's a really only 5 sessions. I used to, Cindy, there is like so much. I believe that I took an entire semester in college. I did quarters actually, so it was probably an entire quarter just about color. So what, 9 weeks? I think a quarter is a quarter 9 weeks. However many, I don't know. But I had to do a color wheel that had 10. spots. And when I taught high school, we used to have them do a color, or not a color wheel, oh my goodness, a value scale that had 10. So only having 5 on there is a lot smaller. Oh, here's the rest of it. Here's the rest of the color. So you can see it goes from like a darker gray then over to black. And so there's the rest of it. It's all the way around. Can you tell? Like, I got a lot of sleep, but obviously my thoughts are not real clear as I am going through. I was hearing this Jingle Bells, and I was keeping an eye on our dog. We got a dog a month ago, and he has chewed up one Christmas ornament, and he grabbed socks, and so I kind of looked over, but I remember that it's my husband taking Christmas decorations downstairs, so squirrel moment there. But anyway, get yourself a color wheel, because what I'm going to talk about today and show you that you should do, it's still going to be helpful to have a color wheel. So here's the other thing that I want you to do. So get a color wheel. That will help. Even if you want to print one offline, just like look up color wheel or artist wheel, and you could print one out if you have especially a nice printer, and it will be helpful just to have that. The next best thing is to create a color wheel. So what you want to do is get 3 colors, and I'm going to tell you what they are, in black and white. I tend to use this Deco Art Americana paints. They cover well. They are pretty decent colors. I would prefer to use like a Liquitex or a Golden, but I don't have all of those paints in the colors that I'm going to tell you today. So I have a primary red, right? The primary colors, primary blue, and my primary yellow is almost all gone, so I have it turned upside down. And then I have titanium white. You want titanium white because it covers better. It is more opaque. So you want a titanium white. And then I have ebony black. So you want a red, a yellow, and a blue. I have the 3 primary, but what I'm going to show to you today is how to figure out if those colors that you're using really are the primaries. And we're going to do that kind of by creating our own color wheel. So you need a red, a yellow, and a blue. You could honestly do this with all of your paints. So tell me in the comments, like, what other combinations of red, yellow, and blue could you use? Because what I'm gonna show you 2 different things today. I'm gonna show a color wheel, and I'm gonna determine whether these 3 primary colors will actually make the colors that I want to put onto the color wheel, and I'm going to show you like a little bit of mixing. So today's ABC of art word is color theory, and that's what I'm going to show you here. And then I'm probably going to finish up for the day and go get some of that honey and lemon water and heat that up and just kind of soothe my throat. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my iced coffee because I have something fun to tell you about that. And so here is what I'm going to do. I have this circle, but now that I'm looking at that, that's kind of small. So I think I saved these. Yeah, this will be much better. And I have this turned so it's facing up to you. So I'm going to use this. And I'm just going to like make a little color wheel. And I like the size of this because it's not too big. And I'll be able to reference it in my journal. And then I'm just going to do kind of a more basic kind of color wheel like this. So if I look, it has 12 different sections. Right? So I want to make 12 pie shapes. And let's see. Now I got to do some measuring when I'm not thinking really clearly. So I probably should be doing this in a pencil, but I don't think I have one over here. So, let's see. So I just kind of found the middle of my circle. And in order to get the 12 shapes, 12 different pie shapes, I'm just gonna, they might not be perfect. I'm gonna start with like this kind of thin X kind of in here. Right, so that's gonna be like the yellow and the purple. And then I'm gonna do a very similar going, this will be fairly close. So now that will be the red, orange, and the blue, green. And now I need to have 2 inside these. So then it's kind of like a bigger X. Oh, that, I think that worked out pretty close there. Right, so then I just kind of made a bigger X, and then I will split these. You could actually do a color wheel like this and do smaller circles inside there, because that's what this has, just more circles inside. Hi there, Nancy. Hi, Lori. And you could do even more, but I'm just going to keep this one simple and do it more like this color theory. So I have a couple of different brushes. I really like this width brush, but I feel like that might be a little bit too big. I don't know, I probably could. This one keeps its shape pretty well. I might try to use that one, but I do have a smaller flat brush, so I like to use that. I just have this little kind of more pointed brush just to get in details, but I do really like an angled brush. So any of those, and this is, you know, a good size, I feel like. And then I am using parchment paper, because I had some leftover. It was like at the end of the roll, you know, parchment paper that you have in the kitchen, and I just like cut it into some little pieces, and I've been using it for my palette. And I'll show you a fun little thing that I did. I had some leftover paint, so I got it like wet on the paint palette, and I kind of like pressed it on here. So I have a couple of those pages that I did that on. So that was my leftover. Anyway, so I'm using a piece of palette paper, or parchment paper, for my palette. Parchment paper for my palette. There we go. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow, and that's going to go right in this top one. So I'm just going to follow this order, and then I'm going to do the red and the blue, because the red, the yellow, and the blue are the primary colors, and I'm actually using the primary colors of deco art. And the more that you do this with the colors that you have, the more that you'll find that they might not necessarily be the colors that you need. I don't even know if I have enough in this one. Let's see. I probably have a smaller little thing of the yellow, and I'm trying to see if I can. It might be dried up at the top there. Okay, I'm not going to do the yellow. It's not coming out of there. I'm going to do the red and the blue. I just need like a little bit. They're not very big spaces in there. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to show you something else that you can do. So I just need like a little bit. And if I look on this, now you might be able to tell right off that this blue that's on here does not look anything like that blue. this is probably more of the color of blue. So to me, this is not a primary blue, right? But I just wanted to show you that even with the paints, what they're calling primary blue might not be the one that you need to use for primary blue. So let's see, you can like mark these if you want, but if I look, this right here is no, is it this one? These two, because this is the purple, this is the yellow, it's the red, and the blue. So I'm going to do red in this one. I'm going to mark it. And this is probably a pretty true primary red if I'm looking at it. This brush works really well to kind of drag it, and you can get pretty straight edges with it. So then I'm going to come around. So I told you I was going to tell you a little bit about my iced coffee. Actually, it is cold brew coffee, which I discovered, I don't know, I've had it before. It was probably early fall that I discovered it because I wanted to start having something besides, yes, Cindy, cyan, magenta, and yellow. Stick it in your head. Oh yes, you have it stuck in your head. Oh, I didn't bring over a paper towel. Let's see. I'll use this one here. So I'm rinsing out my brush really well. So yes, Cindy put in there cyan, which is more of this kind of a blue, and magenta, which I love magenta. And this is, you know, this is really more like a magenta, right? But I want you to try this with the 3 red, yellow, and blues that you have. So then I'm going to go over to this one. I figured out it was this one, right? And I'm going to paint the blue in there. So tell me if you've had cold brew coffee. It's different than just iced coffee. It has kind of a, I don't want to say a sweeter, it has a smoother flavor. That's probably the word. So I got one at Starbucks. I got because it was fall, I got the pumpkin spice sweet cream cold brew. I think that's what it's called. And I really liked it because I could actually taste the coffee more. And, you know, it was just hardly any sugar. I actually liked it better than the pumpkin spice latte. That's been like my go-to for, I don't know, 15 years or however long it's been around. So in the fall, I got the sweet cream cold brew, the pumpkin spice, and I really liked it. So that's what I would get. And then, I don't know, probably December or so, I wanted to switch over. And so I wanted to look for something like it that wasn't the pumpkin. So now I'm going to rinse out, and I am going to see if I can make a purple with these 2 colors. So I'm going to mix kind of equal amounts, but maybe a little bit less blue. I'm going to mix a purple over here. I don't need very, very much of it. And let's see if you can. So that makes more of a grape kind of color. Not exactly like the one on here, but I will label this so that I know that this is the color that my primary red and my primary blue make together. And I probably use much less blue than I did red. So I started getting the vanilla sweet cream cold brew. I think that's what they call it. And I liked it so much, I started looking up how to make it at home. And, you know, the process to make cold brew coffee is like you have to steep it like you do tea. and I just decided I wasn't gonna do that. Maybe other people do, but I wasn't gonna do that. So I found Starbucks at Kroger, my grocery store that I go to, and it was a concentrate of cold brew. So I looked up a recipe of how to duplicate, right, do a copycat recipe of the Starbucks vanilla sweet cream cold brew. So I have a sugar-free vanilla syrup, and I have a sugar-free creamer that I froth that makes the sweet cream, and that is what I've been having, and that's what I have in my cup here is my version of the Starbucks sweet cream cold brew, vanilla sweet cream cold brew. And I've gotten the sugar-free caramel syrup, which is really good too. I barely mix up enough paint for this. So you can see that is a really deep purple. It is not like this kind of grape like purple. And it's because the blue is so dark. The blue is not the cyan color. It is not like the teal kind of color that this one is here. And then what I would do is in here, I would mix a little bit more of the blue. And if I made enough of this purple, I could mix in there. And then this is a red violet. So more of the red, a little bit of the violet, and then I would have that color. So you can go around and make your entire color wheel, and then I would still use some of the red in here for the red orange, right? So I'm still going to be using some of that. You really don't need very much paint at all. Make one of these color wheels for yourself with the colors that you want. And you don't even need the black and the white for this. If you wanted to do more like this, where you had more circles and you had the lights and the darks in there, then you could go through and do more of the values and the shades. So the tints and the shades. So tints are when you mix white, and shades are when you mix black. Values of colors are just going from light to dark. So you may hear artists talk about the value of a color. That just means how light or dark it is. But tints are if you mix white, and then shades of a color are when you mix black. So let me tell you what I'm going to do down here. And I'll finish this color wheel here. Down here, if I had the yellow, I would do that too, but I am going to get the black and the white, and this is where I'm just going to do some color mixing. And you can be more precise about this if you wanted to do like a value scale of the purple, a value scale of the blue, all of that on there. Then you could, create little boxes. But I'm just going to do like some color mixing down here. And I'm just going to do it right now with the red and the blue. And then I'll do black and white. So I just have just a little bit on there. And I'm going to use my flat brush. So I'm going to take some red and just a tiny bit of white. And then I can see what that looks like when I just mix a little bit of white. And then maybe take a little bit more. And I can see, so to me, this primary red doesn't really make a great pink color. Like I don't know, it just doesn't make like a bright pink to me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and wash off my brush. So it makes me start thinking about, well, maybe I just don't have enough white in there. So I'm going to start with white and just add a tiny little touch of red and see if maybe that makes a better pink. Because I still had a lot of paint on my brush. So I like it as a light pink, right? It makes like a nice light pink on there. But I might try I like a magenta better with the white to make a more vibrant pink on there. This red, even though it's called a primary red, it probably has a little bit of blue in there, which I know sounds weird because that would make it, but it's not a true red. If you get Liquitex or Golden or Winsor Newton or paints that are more of not a, like a craft paint, like this Deco Art is more considered like a craft paint. If you get more of a student grade for the Liquitex or any of those, you're going to get more pigmented colors. The craft paints just aren't, and that's why they're more inexpensive. So you can go down and do this, and then I could do the same thing with the, still didn't rinse it off very well. Make sure you have all your white out of there. You're going to start doing shades. And I would start with just maybe a little bit of black. And you have to be so careful with the black. It changes the color so quick. And, ooh, that kind of made like a nice kind of like a little bit of a red to black in there. So it's because I just didn't mix it up very well on the, and it was separated kind of out on my brush. There we go. So I kind of like, it still doesn't make like a brick red to me, which is kind of what I think of if I have like a red, and add black to it. So to me, this red would not be what I would want for, just a good, this is probably, well, it's a little bit darker. But see, now this is more black to me. So I feel like I would want a different red if I wanted to make like a brick kind of color. So you can do that with all of your colors down there. And you can mix the white and do a few of those, mix the black, do a few. You can mix like the red and the yellow and add the white and the black to it and do some different values. And on this one page, you have an entire kind of color theory with those three colors. And you can imagine, depending on how many paints you have, you could do pages of this, right? You could do pages and pages, and it really wouldn't take that much paint. I've also done this with my watercolors, and you can, see just how they mix together. I know that this isn't a, project, a tutorial, a start to finish, but this kind of practice with your colors and having a color wheel and starting to understand how colors work together and how you can blend the colors and, just what colors mix together to make more of a purple and things like that. That is some of the best information that you can store away in your artist brain. And then you can have these references of these pages, and you can mark on here which three colors you use, put the, the brand name and what the specific color was. And you could fill up an entire book of all these different colors. And then you would know, if I want, there are some artists that's all that they use, are the three primary colors that they've, chosen. I think that Liquitex, I may have this in my Amazon shop too. I think that Liquitex makes a set of their three primary colors and, closer to the cyan, magenta, and yellow with the black and the white and you can mix all these different colors with it. Some people like to have a little bit more than those, but with those 5 basic colors, you can mix just about anything that you want. And I believe that it's Liquitex that I know that makes one of those. So let me finish by telling you about my coffee and something fun that I wanted to share with you. And I would love to see if you do your own color theory experiments. That's what I'm going to call them, or experiments or studies, I guess. If your own color theory study of this color wheel and this mixing, and you can go share it in my Art Journaling 101, because it is in a journal. It is valuable information, and I would love to see, because it would help all of us. whether it's watercolors, acrylics, you could do it with oils, like any kind of, even other, like I have these like gel sticks, you could do it with those too. It is just an excellent way for you to learn more about colors. So let me take one more drink of my coffee. So once a week, normally on Wednesday mornings, I do go to Starbucks and I do get the vanilla sweet cream cold brew. I usually get a grande, which is like the medium kind of size. And I think here in Ohio, they're like $5.45. Something like that. I don't even know right off. I don't even know. So I have had so many people ask me about, just kind of they want to say thank you for me like showing up here and teaching about color, all the different videos that I've done, the videos last year from the Word of the Week. And I've had different people, thank me and kind of express that they want to, thank me and they would be interested in joining my membership, but, not now or whatever. So what I found was a way, if you would like to say thank you and help me to buy a coffee once a week, there is a link that I will put after the video is over, and it is a site that is called Buy Me a Coffee, and I will put the link in there. And if there is any time where you would just like to say thank you and provide the money through that link for me to buy a coffee, that would be a way for me to know that what I'm doing, showing up and teaching you about different things, it would just be a little way every once in a while to say thank you. And I have the link set up, so I will put it, in here afterwards. And on my YouTube, it will be in the show notes of the video. So if you go to YouTube, you're watching a video and you hit more, it will show all of they call them the show notes in the description of there. And that's where the link will be for the Buy Me a Coffee, and it'll have Creations of Studio 39 on there. So it was something that I wanted to set up as an easy way if you wanted to say thank you and, support my coffee habit, whether it is once a week at Starbucks or my cold brew concentrate that I get at home. I would be grateful. It helps me to continue to do the things that I do here and show up for my Art in the AM and doing my ABCs of Art for 2026. So, yeah. I know, I thought that it was kind of fun, Kathy, especially since I'm drinking like a lot more cold brew, even though it is cold outside and typically most people want a hot coffee. I just really kind of find the cold brew very satisfying. If you want the recipe for the cold brew that I've been making at home, let me know about that too. So I'm going to go ahead, give my voice a little bit of a rest. I appreciate you for showing up and coming to learn a little bit more about color theory. And don't forget to stop by next week when I do the letter D. And I think coming soon, I will have the whole list for the entire year of what I will be sharing about. If you kind of want to know, like ahead of time, you can let me know in the comments there. If you would like to see for the whole year of the 52 words, because I have 2 sets of ABCs, you can let me know in the comments. So thanks for showing up, and thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day for Art in the AM. And thanks, Lori. I don't feel bad. It's just like my throat is just very, very froggy and dry. And just haven't hydrated it enough, probably. So, very good. So thank you so much. And if you do your color theory studies, please post them in Art Journaling 101. Or if you want to post it on your page and tag Creations of Studio 39, I'll see it that way too. So thanks so much and have a great day.